I want to switch gears really quickly and talk about where you are today. So where you are today, you have millions of followers, and that's a huge responsibility. So you've seen this growth. You got in with social media in the early days. What do you think are some of the top, I don't know, 3 to 5 things that have been so key to your success, specifically in social media, not just as an entrepreneur, but what has grown your platform? What have you done that's worked really well that you're like, you know what, this has been pivotal to growing this brand and growing the impact in the virtual world on social media?
Sure. So number one, experimenting. If you don't try, you're not going to you won't know if it's going to work, right? So the space is alive and it moves real time. And it's not like these are billboards that are static. So try different things. No one cares as much as you actually do. So listen to the feedback after you throw something new out there, and it allows you to find your tribe and really define your value. Because the true golden rule of social media is to deliver value when, where, and how your audience wants to receive it. So that takes a lot of listening and a lot of thought on what is my value. Another big thing is when defining that value offering, it could be in the form of reciprocation, it could be education, exclusive content, comedy, entertainment. All of those different things are different ways to connect. And if you can start to really understand what's in it for your following, then it's basically going to help you, grow and engage at a deeper level. I'll share more for sure when we're in person in Nashville. Yeah,
that is such a great example. And I think it's so fun hearing from someone who not only has done it, but you kind of learned the hard way. You've done this over the last decade of experimenting. So it's not like someone handed you a playbook and said, hey, here's how social media works. Here's how you do it, where you follow these rules. I love how your secret to success really has been kind of breaking the rules, making up the rules as you go and experimenting, which is such a good example. I think one of the things that I think overwhelms a lot of people with social media is the fact that it's always changing. So it's fun that there's lots of options, but it's also overwhelming that there are lots of options. So, your vantage point, you're a renegade, you're out on the front lines with this whole industry. What are some of the things that you're seeing in the social media world that are working really well right now? That, some things we should try for, especially a beginner that's like, I don't even know where to start. What are some fun things where I could try it out that's working well right now?
Sure, I'll give you 3 things.
Okay, great.
So, number 1, video. All of the platforms are trying to really push their video feature. So if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, which doesn't get enough credit, by the way, LinkedIn is a huge asset and resource. Instagram, they do favor video with their algorithm. So it encourages us to flip that camera around or just try. The second thing, we're seeing so much consolidation with these platforms. The Facebook and Instagram are one now, and the algorithms, they will constantly change. And anyone that claims to have the algorithm figured out today is going to be wrong tomorrow, right? Because it's always dynamic. The thing that I've noticed over the last 10 years that's consistent about these algorithms is that they also favor responsiveness and engagement. And so it sounds simple, but when you really care about what someone says to you and you want to respond, you're going to get an upside there because it matters and it has weight. The likes, not as valuable anymore. The, one emoji response, algorithms are smarter. Try an actual sentence.
Right.
So that's getting kind of tactical.
That's good.
But the other thing is it remains true that humans connect with humans, not logos. So if you're the face of your brand, of your company, which entrepreneurs are in most cases, then you need to show up. And you need to provide that ability to connect with consumers because the amount of loyalty we have, and there have been studies on this, consumers are so much more loyal and trusting in people and brands that they know the founder or they know who's running the ship. And conversion will go up, your Your connection will be deeper. And it's a simple but very true rule.
I love that. So I've got a couple follow-ups because those are really, really good. Follow up to the first one about video. What would you say to a woman that is just scared of it? She's like, I don't look cute. My hair is crazy. I don't have good lighting. Like, let's talk to especially some of those beginners, or maybe just someone, she could have great lighting and great hair, but she's just intimidated by video. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to do it. Like, what are some early baby steps for someone that doesn't have a lot of experience in video of how to just get it going? It's that fake it till you feel it until she kind of gets her legs under her. What are some ways that she could gain confidence in trying out video?
Sure. So a couple of ways. Number one, people love realness. They love vulnerability. So it's okay to say, you know what, this is the first time I've ever done this. I am a little nervous, but I really want to share X, Y, Z with you because I feel like it will help you. Really trying to connect on a why level. Why are you doing what you're doing? Don't try to turn your video on and sell me something right away. I really need to know who you are and why you're doing this. So it's okay to be vulnerable and say, you know what, this is scary for me, but I'm still doing it, because you'd be surprised at how many people feel the exact same. And I think if there's one word for 2018 social media right now, it's vulnerability. It doesn't mean you have to share everything, and it doesn't mean you have to air your dirty laundry. But if you can show that you're a relatable human, then you're going to be steps ahead. The other thing, you can always bring someone else on camera with you and ask you questions.
Yes, that's a great idea.
Sometimes that alleviates the pressure of just you. And it's so easy for us to get judgmental of ourselves or be concerned about what we sound like, what we look like. But if you can come from that place of trying to share your message because you're passionate about it, it will come through.
I love that. And I love the idea of interviews because, we haven't talked about that a lot on the podcast or even in the videos. But, one of the most fun parts about my job is getting to have these conversations like this one with you, where it's more dynamic than me just teaching straight to camera. It's more interesting for the listener or viewer because there's this, it's improv, it's not scripted. It's just kind of whatever comes out. It's obviously got more energy because you have two people. People love to kind of watch in or listen in on those conversations. So that's a great idea. And I would say too, probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you could be the interviewer. You can bring guests on as either an expert or someone that has great content that somehow ties into your business that you can share, and then you can give them underhanded pitches, of great questions and set them up, and they can share as well. So I love that because that really does kind of take the pressure off. Now, you said something in your second point that I think is really, really good. We get so overwhelmed with these algorithms, and you're saying, don't focus on the algorithm. They're always going to change. Focus on what you know is going to be proven no matter what algorithm is in place at that time, and engagement being an example of that. So put out content that has high engagement. You engage with your audience and with your tribe and respond to them. And then regardless of how the formula changes, you're still staying true to what you know they favor, which is such a great example. What would you say are some keys to putting out content that is conducive to high engagement? So asking questions or something that people naturally want to respond to, naturally want to share. What are some best practices there? Because we're trying to do that even in Business Boutique, putting out stuff that is more conducive to engagement. So from your kind of vantage point, what are some things we can do to help that?
That's a great question. And it's back to experimenting, to a certain extent. But when you ask for feedback or ask a question, usually you're automatically going to get, more engagement. And I think there are two different ways to do it. And one just feels gimmicky, respond if, or tag your friend if. And that's okay. But I think if you continue to do that, it just starts to feel hollow. Like the person doesn't really want to connect. They just want engagement. So really look at the genesis of what you're trying to do. And if it's truly offering value, then people should want to engage with it. If you're finding your tribe and you're connecting with people into their pathways. It's interesting with social, especially these days where we get lost in the sea of sameness. And there's something to be said for not trying to please everyone. Sometimes you have to be polarizing to your audience. And that's okay if everybody else drifts off, because it doesn't matter if you have 100 followers or 100,000 followers. If you have 100,000 and no one's converting, then big deal. But if you have 100 and 10 are, that's actually a pretty good percentage, right? So, I mean, I found my first investor through social media. We connected just on a very, general, natural way. And he ended up becoming a friend, a mentor, and an investor. I mean, what's the ROI of that? It's incredible. So it's really looking at, why you're there and not getting in that comparison game and that FOMO game. Teddy Roosevelt said, comparison is the thief of joy. And that should be something that goes through everyone's mind as they're scrolling through their feeds, because it's, real life is important and more valuable than the highlight reels.
That's good. And I think it's such a great takeaway too for social media, because a lot of times people get so caught up in the numbers of I need more followers or more fans, and it's these metrics, but they're not necessarily a meaning behind it. And I love what you said of 100 that convert are better than 100,000 that are not connected at all and don't know you and aren't a part of the brand. And that's a really good reminder for us. I use the example with when you're putting out content. If you're making the wrong person mad, you're doing the right thing, because you're not for everyone. So it's like if some people are like, oh, I don't get her at all, and they're not in my target market, perfect. You're not supposed to get it. If you got it, then I'm off base somehow. But if my ladies that I exist for, my why of why we do Business Boutique, if they get it, that's all that matters. And however many of them is great. But it's about having the tribe that you exist for. So I love that example. I've got one question before we wrap up, and I could talk to you all day, Amy Jo, about all this stuff. But you talk a little bit. You've talked before about getting out of balance, and that is a real struggle with women, with entrepreneurs, women who are entrepreneurs, Talk to me a little bit about what you've learned in your last 10 years or so of the ups and downs and the wild ride of entrepreneurship, and what are some things you're doing today to kind of protect yourself from getting out of balance that we can learn from, because I know that's a real struggle for all of us.
Oh, it's huge. It's one of the things I'm most passionate about, is to share my lessons so other people can kind of leapfrog the hard way, the long way around the block. And one of the things it's probably number one that I've learned is that, and this sounds cliche, but it's actually so true, where purpose, passion, and skill collide, bliss resides. There's a sweet spot in that intersection. And for the longest time, I had the passion and I had the skill, but the deficit was purpose. And I did some really great things, and it looked great from the outside looking in. But behind the scenes, I was emotionally bankrupt eventually. And I was averaging 4 hours of sleep a night on 210 flights in 1 year. And I didn't have a purpose behind why I was just running so hard. And it's easy to run out of gas when you don't have that. So that's what keeps us through the droughts, because our passions change over time, our skills evolve, but having some higher objective to what you're doing will sustain you and also keep you in check, with when it comes to whether you call it balance, or I call it a diversified portfolio of life.
I love it.
And, that's big. One of the biggest things that I had to learn, and it was tough. I had some big, upsets to get there.
Yeah, sometimes it takes us kind of either crashing and burning or having one of those moments where you're like, how did I get here, before you realize that some changes need to be made. Amy Jo, you are such an inspiration and such a great example of not only entrepreneurship, but just a woman rocking all of these things at one time. So I know our ladies are going to love hearing from you at our Business Boutique event in Nashville this November. So can you give us a maybe just really short teaser about what you're going to be covering, what you're going to be talking about? I know they're so excited to hear from you.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so excited to meet everyone. So honored to be a part of it. a gist of what I'm going to be focused on. Some of the things that we spoke about, but going deeper and getting more tangible and kind of tactical. Personal brand building is huge. We can take it too far, definitely, but it is so important for entrepreneurs because if someone Googles you, you need to show up how you want to show up, right? And so getting into some of those tangible, practical things. Also, there's something very powerful about having the renegade mentality that I talk about and that I've learned from some of the, most iconic, innovative people in the world. And I share what I've actually been able to pull out and dissect the tangible, tactical kind of tricks and tips that they all do to get from idea to action. So these are literal things that people can apply that day in Nashville and greenlight their ideas. It's great to go to conferences and have ideas, but it doesn't really matter if you're not taking action on them, right? So that's what I look forward to sharing.
I love it. I love how you said renegade mentality too, because one of the things that I hear from people in Business Boutique as well, I'm an introvert or I'm just more the quiet type. Great. It doesn't matter because confidence is a skill. It's a muscle and, going for it, having the attitude, the renegade mentality. It's a mentality. It doesn't mean it's a certain personality style or gene that only some people have and some people don't. So I'm so excited because every woman in that audience, regardless of how God made her, can take what you're teaching and take that to the marketplace and put that, implement that in her business instantly. So I'm so excited about that. I know everyone is so thrilled to have you. And Amy Jo, I know you're crazy busy. So thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule to hang out and inspire us and teach us. And we'll see you soon. I'm so excited.
Oh, I thoroughly enjoyed it. See you soon, Chrissy. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for watching. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you want to sign up for my brand new course, Social Media Simplified, you can go to businessboutique.com.